My name is John Petrika. I'm a medical scientist, naturopath and father to an autistic child. And today I would like to discuss how clinical practice in treating autistic individuals is not keeping up with years of autism research and is producing very poor long-term outcomes for these individuals. The translation of autism research into clinical practice has been a painfully slow process. I would go so far as to say that autism research is virtually invisible in clinical practice and the general autism community, which is unfortunate as autism research has exploded in recent years and showing that there is much that we can do to improve these children's lives. This needs to change. Children and parents, they need help and they need it now. Parents don't have the luxury of time to wait years for autism research to be put into clinical practice. If I had waited for autism research to be implemented into clinical practice to help my son, over 25 years later I'd still be waiting. If you think that current recommended autism treatments are based on the best available evidence, then just to remember, it's not that long ago, 1950s, that autism was actually seen as a result of refrigerator mothers and the emotional neglect of children. And this was the mainstream psychiatric theory for 20 years. The point is that we've come a long way since then. Now, the current Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM version 5, now sees autism as a spectrum disorder. Regarding mainstream autism treatments over the last 50 years, all we've managed to do is to have behavioural interventions, 2 pharmaceutical drugs that have been approved, risperidone and aripiprazole, anti-epileptic drugs for epilepsy, which 30% of the autistic population do have, stimulant drugs for ADHD and hyperactive type of behaviour, antidepressants for mood disorders like anxiety and depression, and drugs that are used off-label on children. Off-label means that they haven't been approved or studied for long-term use in children. So what are the long-term outcomes of these mainstream autism treatment recommendations? What is the research showing us over all these years that we've been implementing these recommendations? And the research that is coming out now is actually showing that there is a poor quality of life for these adults and their carers. They suffer from multiple, yet serious, medical conditions. There's a high incidence of mental health issues, but sadly, it's also leading to premature death, especially in those individuals with an intellectual disability. These are the invisible long-term outcomes that no one is prepared to talk about. And this has got to change. These are not the outcomes that we want for our children, let alone be proud of. The incidence of autism is now considered to be 1 in 59 children. And let me remind you that this actually comprises 1 in 37 boys and 1 in 151 girls. In December 2018, in the Journal of Pediatrics, there was a study that was published, which was a study on the National Survey of Children's Health, which was done in 2016 on US children. In this survey, they found that the incidence of autism was 1 in 40. And this was equivalent to 1 in 27 boys or 1 in 180 girls. And in New Jersey, the incidence in boys was actually 1 in 22. How is this not an epidemic? Why are we as parents not marching in the streets demanding action for our children? And recently I've been pondering this question. What if autism was discovered today? A mysterious illness affecting 1 in 27 boys. There would be billions of dollars spent trying to find the cause. Parents would want action, and they would want it now. We would be putting these children through every neurological, immunological, gut and biochemical test we currently have. Instead, once your child has an autism diagnosis, medically they are basically ignored. Yes, they may get checked for chromosomal abnormalities and maybe another basic blood test as well. But how many children have actually had a blood test to see if they have any nutrient deficiencies, especially those that are picky eaters or restrictive eating habits as well, let alone if they have any biochemical, immunological, gastrointestinal or neurological abnormalities? In the year 2000, when I actually started looking at the research into autism, there were only 500 papers published in that year on autism. Now, as the incidence of autism has skyrocketed, so has the amount of research that is being published, such that in 2018, there were 4,768 papers published. That's a phenomenal number of studies that have been published. So over the last 20 plus years, we have spent billions of dollars on autism research. Have we wasted billions of research dollars with nothing to show for it? Or, if there's good research, why is autism research not being translated into clinical practice? Basically, because autism research is invisible. It is not written about, it's not spoken about, and it's not shared. However, autism research clearly shows that there are so many underlying issues that we can treat to improve the quality of life of these children and adults. Current autism treatment practices or guidelines, they need to change. They need to acknowledge that autism is just as much a medical condition as it is a neurological issue. We need to raise awareness that autism does not occur on its own. It actually occurs with many other serious co-occurring medical conditions that can be treated. We need to break down many of the myths that have been spread by ill-informed organisations, professionals and individuals, and especially by social media, that there is little else that can be done for our children. Myths like all autistic behaviours, they're just typical autistic traits. The only treatments that are evidence-based are ABA and the 2 pharmaceutical drugs. Doing any testing is just a waste of time and money. The gut has got nothing to do with autism. There is no evidence that diet is beneficial. Supplements are useless and dangerous. Well, this is not what the research is actually showing us. The research is showing us that there's a lot that we can do for these children. Before the anonymous internet trolls and social bots try and stop this discussion, let me just say that I'm just the messenger. I am just presenting the autism research that is out there and making it visible to the autism community and to parents to make up their own minds. What I'm not advocating is quack cures, miracle protocols or supplements, autism recovery or cure. However, what I am advocating is the best medical care possible for autistic individuals. Do they improve if we improve their health? The research clearly says yes. Does their quality of life improve? Yet again, the research clearly says yes. Autism children and adults deserve the best medical care as they are some of the most vulnerable individuals in our society. Yet most medical doctors, they have no idea how to effectively treat the disorder, and of course resort to medication as a first line of treatment. Any concern that a parent may have about the child's health or behaviour is quickly ignored, and parents are told that this is just a typical symptom of autism and don't worry about it. Worse still, I've had parents that say that they've been told, oh, you're just an over-anxious parent. Yeah, so no wonder we are seeing such bleak futures for our children and adults on the autism spectrum. We can't afford to wait another 50 years and not implement what we already know. We can help our children grow into happy, healthy and thriving adults starting today. I will be discussing how we can improve autism outcomes in my upcoming video blogs. And look, this is not the rocket science. This is a basic right for children to have access to the best medical care available. As a parent, a medical scientist, it just made so much sense to me when we began our autism journey with my son to ensure that medically and nutritionally he had everything he needed to ensure he had an optimal outcome as an adult, in addition to behavioural interventions. As a minimum, every child should have an extensive medical workup. We should ensure optimal micronutrient levels for these children. We should consider a dietary intervention trial just to see whether they are perhaps reacting or intolerant to certain foods. If they have any gut issues, they should be treated. And if they have sleep issues, we should improve their sleep as well. And certainly if they have anxiety, we should manage their anxiety effectively so they're more comfortable. We need to rethink how we treat autism. We need to learn not only from autism research, but from what we have seen from years of clinical practice also. All I'm saying is for parents to start listening and be open-minded. Only then will we start to give these children and adults and their carers the quality of life that they deserve. The advice I would give to parents dealing with autism is, remember, there is no reset button on your child. If things don't work out, you can't go back and have another go. You need to do the best you can for your child. And the earlier you do this, the better. Instead of being overwhelmed, feel empowered. You, as a parent, are the expert in your child and in the best position to advocate for the care that they need. Instead of being confused, be informed. Learn as much as you can about autism and question everything. On my website, I have plenty of information there for parents to get started, and also plenty of research there as well, so that parents can access and make up their own minds. Instead of feeling hopeless, have hope. More importantly, have hope with a plan of how to treat your child. And if you need help, contact me and we can have a discussion about what we can do for your child as well. Most importantly, it is a roller coaster ride. Often children improve only to regress. And this is not a time to give up. This is a time to ask, look, why have they regressed and what has happened and what can be done to get them back on track? My name is John Petrika. I'm a medical scientist, naturopath and father to an autistic child, and I've been on this journey of autism discovery for more years than most. My son is leading a fulfilling life, and I could have walked away and said, okay, my job is done. But I see so many children suffering needlessly, and their parents as well, and it has to change. It is time to share what I and many other parents have learnt on this journey over many years, and to share it with the new generation of autism parents that are just beginning their own autism journey with their child. At least my conscience is clear that I have done everything that I can to help these children have an optimal outcome in life. Thank you for listening, and please share so we can make a difference to many more children and their parents.